Hello and welcome to the second episode of Project Giddy-Up, the project where we make a average Mustang into something extremely cool. Now, we spoke last time with Angus Fogg because he had taken the Mustang out on a, well, you could call it a road trip of sorts, because he went around Hampton Downs and the Mary Mary drag strip and he did some bad things. He went off the track, he went into the dirt, he went on the grass, he went over the ripple strips. And he found a few issues, those being the handling. We'll get to the power of the machine and the look of the machine later on, but we need to sort out the handling. And a way to do that is suspension, obviously. And the best people to talk to is George Stocks and Company, aka Stocks. So we're here talking to them to get the gist on what we've got to do. And joining me is Keith Hartley, because he is the expert in suspension. Keith, there is a lot to it. We can go right through a vast array of things, from springs, shocks, sway bars, bushes, all sorts. But we need to focus primarily on shocks and suspension for this part, right?
Yep.
Right. Angus Fogg said that it had no suspension, or felt like it had none. So let's start there.
Yep.
Springs, shocks. Springs, what do they do?
Well, the first thing a spring does pretty much is hold a car up.
Okay, hold a car up.
Yeah.
Off the ground?
Off the ground.
Off the
Keeps it
chassis?
off the ground, yeah.
Right. What else is it doing?
Basically, depending on the rate of the spring, it controls what the car does. Generally, with most manufacturers, they make a spring fairly soft. The simple reason for that is that basically there's a huge market buying that car. They're sent in many different countries, so they've got to make sure that the car is actually suitable to be comfortable. So pretty much anything you do is going to make it a bit better than factory in most cases. Not everything,
Gotcha.
but in most cases.
Okay, because you will have a wide variety, wouldn't it? You could give us a spring that we could go road touring all week long and be comfortable and nice and cushioned, or you could give us something that Angus would like and into full race mode.
Absolutely, we can give you whatever you want. We can go from full race to you know, like a track day sort of car, or a bit of both.
Okay, a compromise.
Absolutely, there's more than one compromise.
I know here that we have the old springs, and well, it's not the prettiest looking thing, but it's got a certain job. This job is to hold it off the ground.
Indeed. Yep.
Okay, this is the front or rear of the Mustang?
That's the rear spring for the
This is the old rear spring, and this big hunk of metal here is the old front spring.
That's right.
What do you suggest we do?
Spring-wise, the solution we've come up with would be H&R from Germany.
Okay.
They're probably
a German product and an American machine.
Yes, but they're very, very big in America.
Right.
USA is a huge market for them. Everything is made in Germany and TUV safety tested, as well as ISO 9001 approved.
Okay.
So every single spring is also tested before it leaves the factory.
Right.
In this case, we'd be using a progressive coil, which is basically like a variable rate. So.
Okay, hang on a second. This doesn't seem right. Explain.
No, there's a bit of a length difference. But in this case, we'll be using slightly thicker wire.
Yes.
So effectively, the spring is almost longer than what it looks. The progressive side of the spring, when you're driving slowly, it starts working the softer part, keeps the ride nice and smooth, and also helps keep the spring captive inside the standard strut, while also allowing it to lower the car sufficiently. Once you load the spring up, this part closes up because it's softer, and you start working the stiffer part of the spring. So that's when the performance comes in. Right. Whereas the factory one's a linear spring.
So that part of there is for my luxury when we're on the road. That part there is to keep Angus Fogg happy.
Yeah, absolutely. So the harder you push it, within reason, the firmer it gets. So,
okay.
So that's why we've given you something that's going to be a good compromise for everything. And it'll even keep Angus happy, I'm sure.
And that's going to be a difficult project, but I guess that's all part of it. If you did not have the spring in the car and just a shock, the car would just sink down on the shock, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we need to make sure the spring's right, which you've decided. H&R?
H&R.
H&R from Germany. Cool. The shock absorber though, we've got to fit one of them as well. Now, as you've got a sample here of a basic generic system. It sits in there and it's not holding the car up. It has nothing to do with holding the car up, or it does?
No, it doesn't hold the car up, but it's, when the spring compresses and it releases its energy, you need something to actually control the speed of the spring releasing.
Okay.
So effectively a shock is a damper.
Yes.
So without a shock absorber, we've going to be on like a pogo stick because your springs are just bouncing up and down with no control.
So you're saying in the segment here, no shock in the middle, all you're doing is going like that, down the road.
It's effectively like, yeah, so it's like a pogo stick and you've got nothing to control it. It's going to bounce.
It's going to bounce.
Yeah.
So you need the right shock in there again though, to keep all parties happy with a compromise. So we're looking at a shock that can handle road work, down to get the groceries, and track work, because we do want to do a little bit of that with Angus and keep him happy. What have you decided then? Or what do you recommend, given you've got, again, so many choices?
Well, the best shock we think for this sort of purpose is Coney, because basically you've got adjustability with the Coney Sport with dampening adjustment. So you can soften it for road use, stiffen it for track use, or whatever suits. You know, you can set it up how you want it. Valving is obviously set to a certain amount of it, but also they're TUV tested as well. They're made in Holland, so European.
Now, when you say you're adjusting the shock absorber,
the dampening force,
re-explain that to me and the people watching exactly what we're doing and why we're doing it. So again, the spring compressors, that's what you've told us, and the shock absorber is then doing what?
Controlling the speed that the spring comes back up. So when you adjust the dampening, the bump and rebound, it depends on the speed and the forces. So it's quite hard to actually put into the right words.
Because the reason I wanted to go through that is a lot of people think that the shock is the part doing this, but it's the spring is what you've just told me. And the shock is doing that part.
So also to a certain degree, if you tighten the shock up because it's controlling the speed, the spring goes down to a certain, you know, it does make a difference. But I guess from there, the main thing is too, I mean, the history of Coney is it goes back to Formula 1, Formula 5000. So the technology in these road shocks is actually, you know, quite high.
We know you're going to please Angus there, because immediately he'll think, all right, F5000, Formula 1 suspension in this Project Giddy-Up, here I go, Hampton Downs.
Well, Angus has actually used them in the past and a lot of his race cars as well, and so he knows the product well, so I think he'd be highly approving of it.
Okay, all right, so let's go over this one more time. We're going to put in a spring that compromises, so we hold the weight of the car. It's also a higher spring rate than standard as well. Higher spring rate? Right.
But it's a variable spring rate. So.
See, this is good stuff. This is what people want to know, because they're going to do it to their own machines. We're going to put a new spring in there to hold the weight of the car with a variable compression. Is that the right terminology? Wonderful stuff.
That's the way to explain it. Easy.
Yes, right. And then we're going to have a shock absorber in there, a Coney shock absorber, to control the pogo stick of it. That's adjustable, so that when we drive it to go get our groceries and our latte, we're all good, and then when Angus hops in, he can
wind it back up.
But
also you're lowering the centre of gravity, because the car will be, depending on how much more you want it low, we've got different options. So also a little bit less body roll, but as well as that you're changing the sway bars and things later, which will make even more difference. So eventually when the car's all completely done, you have a very nice setup.
Look, I'm loving this a lot. So that's the deal. We are going to put in a Coney, an H&R, and we're going to make this thing fly and be comfortable all at the same time, thanks to stocks.